Hey guys, Desolator Magic here. It's time for the second half, I guess, or whatever-ish, of the first chapter of the Rivals of Ixalan story. You follow that? Too bad. On our last episode of Ixalan Z, Kumena and Vona, the Butcher of Magan, went Super Saiyan and got in a cat fight. That is literally all that happened. So what's going to happen in this episode? Well, this new section here is titled Vraska. So let's just pick up right where we left off with Jason Vraska falling off a cliff or water cliff. I don't remember. Bro, this is like a TV series. You expect me to remember one damn detail or character name from something that happened like last season? No, bro. That is expecting way too much of me. I did not study the show, and I did not know that there would be a test later. But I do remember something with the waterfall and Jace almost regaining his memories, whatever. So it says Jace lay in agony on the riverbank, probably because he fell off a waterfall, and he's all full of blood, and oh, that's right, he's projecting random uncontrolled magic, some of which are memories. And Vraska's like, haha, that's probably not good. So apparently Vraska is like, oh man, when people get bonked on the head, they usually get their memories back, which that's a little bit of a stretch, but let's go with it. So she's swimming up to him like, oh crap, this is not going to be good, like for real. So Jason's just like projecting random memories and she's trying to like ignore them, but they're like really loud inside of her head, kind of, I guess. So then Jace remembers like something else and it freaking triggers Vraska. I wish I was kidding. It's just some SJW fantasy. Oh, I have such PTSD. Just bullshit. So just ignore that part of the story. So then Jace has another memory flashback thing. And at this point, Vraska's just sitting there with popcorn. And it was him getting apparently his face tattoos. You know, those white markings on his face. Yeah, they're not just like some magic thing. They're literally tattoos. I think they're also related to some magic thing, but they are quite literally tattoos. See, I thought I was being clever calling them tattoos, like jokingly. No, they are tattoos, and that's hilarious. So she reminds Jace again, hey, you know what might be fun is make some kind of illusion, like little beam in the sky or whatever he was going to do, so that our crew can find us, which apparently the protections around Vraska are not very good. So then he has another flashback, and Vraska's like, oh, this is going to be embarrassing, because it's him and Liliana, totally blanked on her name there, and he's just like, is it true what you said? You'd be sad when I die? And then she's like, oh my God, this is so tedious. I'm Liliana. Everything's tedious. Yeah, I guess so. Whatever. And then she got out like her iPhone X and then just started checking Tumblr. Took like 8 selfies and uploaded them. And then he's like, oh my God, Liliana. That is like the nicest thing you've ever said to me. And Vraska basically says something to the effect of, wow, this is some cringy crap. Oh, and apparently she's like, oh, let's toast, because why not? And Jace is like, to what? And then she's like, or no, he said, a toast to Emrakul for doing our job for us. I really should read that. I read Shadows, but I didn't read like more than the first chapter of Eldritch Moon. Somebody at F&M told me that Emrakul willingly went into the moon to get trapped. I'm thinking, why? Why would that possibly be? So I'm just going to have to go read that for real. And so then they start playing chess, even though she's like, oh my God, chess is so tedious. That's actually a direct quote, by the way. She said that. And then she's just like, hey, Jace, don't you have a crush on that moon hoe? Oh, you mean Tamio? She's married. And then she's like, oh, because she totally seemed your type. And he's like, she was a scholar, morally ambiguous, married, and not what I'm looking for, even if she weren't. And also, she a gold digger. Dude, he's got that telepathic guild pack money, man. She's just going after that. So then she's like, okay. What are you looking for then? And Vraska's like thinking to herself, like she's being one manipulative, crazy mind game chick. I mean, Jace, don't be having that. Don't fall for this crap. She's getting inside your head. Actually, wow, she literally said don't fall for this at the end of that sentence. I did not read it all the way through. So then Jace just leans back in his chair, drinks even more wine or whatever. And then he's like, oh, this isn't so bad. Because, you know, Liliana was like complaining about playing chess before. And Vraska, okay, let's just read this. Vraska's heart ached. This was so bad. But he was too far lost to pull back the curtain of affection and see the bored cruelty of her intentions. You know, I'm kind of not getting that vibe. So, I mean, like Liliana's kind of like a stuck-up, arrogant, you know, like she's that type of person who shows up to F&M and then she's like, oh, I got to play another mirror match. Oh, my opponent dropped. Oh, it's round 5 and I just don't want to play for first. Let's just split the packs. Oh, magic is so tedious. But she's acting like she's about to murder him or something. This is about to turn into like some kind of murder mystery mansion thing. By the way, they're at like Liliana's mansion. So then that illusion kind of fades away, and Vraska's like, okay, first of all, Jace, like, wake the hell up, and secondly, I don't think I was supposed to see that last one. Oh, and FYI though, FYI, if I can interject my own personal feelings into this thing that I just got done saying I shouldn't have watched, she's a manipulative cow. So then she hears a dinosaur approaching. She's like, okay, that's not good. It sounds big. And she's like, Jace, we gotta go. So then all of a sudden Jace is just like, hey, you know what I should say in response? Vryn. And then boom, he starts thinking about Vryn, which I believe is his homeworld. And basically she's like, oh, Stargate's cool, but it's actually the Mage Ring Network. So then like he gets all out of control and he starts remembering stuff from, I guess, when he was a toddler. And also Vraska is viewing it from a third person view, which is being projected by Jace. And I could bake you a 7-layer cake on why that's impossible. You know, like, for example, nobody can remember that far back, and why would it be in third-person view? So then Jace, like, starts remembering that his mind had been kind of manipulated, and any time that he planeswalked away, then his memory of it was erased by that one Sphinx. I totally don't remember his name. And Vraska's just like, man, he's got layers and layers and layers of amnesia. Holy crap, this is like a bad soap opera. So then fast forward to teenage Jace getting all pissed off at, apparently his name's Alhammarat. I feel like I should remember that. I played Alhammarat's archive in multiple decks. Hashtag double life gain. So he's doing his old like mental battle against the Sphinx, and she's like, man, this is some real crap right here. So then Jace basically just broke the living crap out of Alhammarat's mind because he was, kind of pissed a little bit. My version of that is maybe not quite as good as what's written on the page. Let's back that up. That strike in Alhammarat's mind was more ruinous than any explosion, more destructive than any earthquake, more calamitous than any meteor. What was a well of weathered marble violently collapsed against itself in a catastrophic implosion that deafened the senses. Or as I like to call it, he totally just wrecked his mind. Bro got mind wrecked. Hashtag mind wrecked. But unfortunately, apparently Jace had struck out too aggressively, and his own memories were ripped away in the process of psychic demolition, which really does not sound like a thing that could or would happen, but okay. I mean, if you punch somebody too hard, you break a finger, so I guess that's what they're going for with this one. You hit somebody too hard with your brain, you're going to break your brain, which is pretty much the NFL. So then Jace is like, oh, look, a dying Sphinx. Oh, crap, I did this, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did this. Then he, ran away to jumped off the roof because he's like, I got priors. So then Jace temporarily returns to, the real world. And so she's like, oh, my God, Jace had such a bad upbringing. So did I. We're basically brother and sister. Oh, my God, let's hug it out. And if you think I'm exaggerating, go read it for yourself, okay? It's basically what I just said. So then he starts remembering, him and Vraska sailing on the boat. And she's like, oh, crap, I was there. I remember this one. So then Jace's memory flashes back to the first time he met Vraska, which, keep in mind, was on Ravnica, years ago. And then she's like, oh, crap. But then the memory ends abruptly, and she's like, okay, hopefully he didn't remember that much. So then Vraska's like, oh my God, I want to give Jace a big ol' hug again. No joke, that is a slight downplaying of what she said. This is some emotional crap right here, and kind of poorly written. And Jace is like, oh my God, you saw everything. And she's like, well, I saw what you couldn't contain, whatever that means. And then he's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute, you're an assassin. And then she added, and a friend. So remember, guys, if your friend is an assassin, don't forget, they're also a friend, though, because that'll totally negate it. Okay, this just gets pathetic. So they say, well, now he's not leaking memories out of his head, but he's struggling with his thoughts internally. And then he literally says out loud, Amara, Nissa, I have so few friends. Who cares? Friends suck. And they have proven that people with higher IQs have less friends. Okay, if somebody falls off a cliff and then hits their head and then starts crying and complaining that they don't have any friends, you might want to seek medical attention, because that's not normal human behavior unless they were an oversensitive soy boy to begin with, which I don't know Jace's background that much, so we'll just go with maybe. You know what, if your friend falls off a cliff, just go get a medical attention no matter what they're saying or how they're acting. In fact, in the first place, try to get your friend to not fall off the cliff. Let's just start with that. So then she's looking around and she's like, oh, look, we're right in front of the staircase that leads to the city above. Wow, how convenient that that's where they fell. Hey guys, you know why? You know why that happened? With the size of Erasca, there being literally one staircase into Erasca, and then they just kind of ended up near it by sheer coincidence. You know why that actually happened? Because story. Gotta keep the story moving somehow. And then Jace is like, because story, it's not all back, not all my memories. There are gaps. I don't remember how I lost my memory or how I got here. So he apparently doesn't remember Nicol Bolas. Oh, and by the way, they just randomly tell you that Jace's face tattoos are the same as Alhamrat's collar, and I guess that might be the symbol for the word Jace or something. I think they're kind of implying that. I don't know. I don't think the Sphinx named him. I'm not really following where they're going with that at all. And then just out of nowhere, she's like, I'm sorry I tried to kill you on Ravnica. Oh, okay. Apology accepted. We're all good now. So they're like, oh man, we should probably get climbing these stairs, but Jace is having a moment still, apparently, just sitting on the riverbank. So super hyper ultra sensitive Vraska, apparently. She's basically Dr. Phil in this episode. She's like, what the hell did she say? Oh, he had gone from child prodigy to spy to victim, only to have it all forcibly exorcised from his heart and mind. He had turned lost and afraid to people who preyed on the lost and afraid. He had been tortured, ignored, manipulated, and despite it all was nevertheless intact. That doesn't seem like it, actually. That's a little generous. He had survived. He was remarkable. Bitch, you don't want to know what it was like with my childhood? Because I'll project that shit in your mind. Surprise, if you don't listen to Boogie 2988's bullshit, if bad things happened to you when you were a kid that were traumatic and harmful, you don't have to turn into an asshole. And if it gives you severe anxiety and all kinds of mental problems, you can get over it and get 100% better. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, this is who I am now, I have to deal with my anxiety and depression. No, you can recover completely. Telling yourself you're never going to get better because, oh no, this happened to me and poor me, is the fastest way to never get better. So don't ever listen to that when some YouTuber is constantly whining about, oh, my anxiety, my PTSD, my depression, oh, I'm always going to be this way. Just whatever. Let them wallow in their own little, self-pity or whatever the hell you want to call it. We really need a lot more people out there spreading the word that you don't have to be like that and it doesn't always have to mess with you. But Jace does have a point when he says, yeah, it kind of sucks that people kept messing with my memories and tricking me into harming other people and whatever, just for their own ends. And yeah, that kind of sucks. Here's a fun tip. If you're the one with the most power in any given situation, then you won't have people manipulate you. Probably should have been a better mind mage, Jace. Or carried a gun. He just pulls out a frickin' AR-15 against Alhamrat oh, you're gonna use some mental magic? Say hi to my bullets. But seriously, guns do help in a lot of situations. You know what would have really helped the 6th and 7th Harry Potter movies? Guns. J.K. Rowling had to make up some BS reason why guns wouldn't have worked because she knows damn well they can just run down the street to the damn gun store and teleport in, grab some guns, and then just shoot Voldemort. Or really any of the other Death Eaters. It's kind of hard to kill Voldemort, but just be like, oh, you're casting some magic spells on me? Yeah, does it fly at the speed of a bullet? Probably not. Oh, you're gonna Havada Kedavra or whatever the hell mean? Here, Havada have a grenade, bitch. Oh man, I don't remember the magic words for my electrical shocking spell, so taser to the nuts. You guys better be really glad that I didn't direct those movies. Battle for Hogwarts, my ass. Y'all see the movie Battle Los Angeles? There you go. Hell, I'd have the aliens fly down in the middle of the battle for Hogwarts. Why the hell not? It's a sci-fi fantasy movie. What the hell is this video about? Oh yeah, Jace is doing some stuff for failing too. Guys, Jace is such a brave person. He is literally Bruce Jenner. So Vraska goes from, ooh, I want to hug you, to let's work it out with words, even though that doesn't seem to be her specialty. For example, you have been hurt and manipulated and abused. You should have died so many times, and despite that, despite it all, you did what you had to and survived. That's a miracle worth celebrating. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, you didn't die. Boy, she's scraping the bottom of the compliment barrel there. Oh, well, this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me. At least you're not dead. I'm going to use that one the next time one of my friends is complaining about a situation. And she's like, well, do you at least remember the last 3 months? And he's like, yeah, it was the best 3 months of my life. Yar, I love being a pirate. I might add that second part myself. And so then Vraska's like, well, that Jace from the last 3 months is one of the best people I've ever met. And he's like, my gird, I love you. Okay, if I read the rest of this, I'm going to literally puke over the touchy-feeliness of this. So they're all like, oh, let's have a moment, and I like you, and you're great, and oh, nobody ever listened to me like you do, and you're so honest, and blah, 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 blah. Do you think whoever wrote this story ever watches my videos and then just wishes tomorrow a meteorite would just come end it, just end all of civilization? Oh, I've published this beautiful, carefully thought out work of art, and then there's Desolator's version. Hey, author though, let me just throw this in there. At least you're not dead. Oh my God, that he's like, that is who I would rather be. And then she's like, don't you have a say in how you want to turn out, or whatever that says? I can't read. It's like 12:30. I want to believe I do, but how can I choose to be who I think I am when I remember how many times I've let people take advantage of me, how many times I've hurt? Get over it, you pansy. Unless you literally have a time machine, which I do understand is actually a thing, but still, you can't change the past. All you can change is how you live your life from now on. So get over it and stop being a little baby. Oh my God, Jace. No one ever chooses to be a victim, Vraska interjected. You're not weak because you were taken advantage of, and the cruelty of what they made you do reflects on them, not you. But Vraska, I can't help but feeling foolish. I know, but you're not. Guys, some of this I'm making up, but not this part. Some of this, you just gotta read it for what it is, word for word. No joke. The very next thing is, my mother wanted me to move to the city to be a scholar. Really? We're going there? We're going full-blown lay down on the psychiatrist's couch in front of Dr. Vraska? Let's talk about your upbringing. Tell me about your childhood. That's where we're going with this, because it's not already too melodramatic. You guys are gonna give me so much crap for this. So all I'm gonna say is, I think a certain type of person wrote this. You could fill that in with whatever deeply offensive comment you could possibly think of. Oh my God, I'm just gonna keep reading this. The jokes write themselves. Vraska smiled. Her words came slowly and deliberately. You moved to a damn good city, and you became a damn good scholar, she said, pretending not to notice him fighting back the swell of emotion that her simple affirmation had caused. Because he's a freaking emotional wreck. Oh my God, Jace, get it together. My God, if I was here in the story right now, I would slap him. Now, even when slapping was fashionable, I mean, there had to be a gunfight after that. Somebody had to go. Name that reference. Oh, for God's sake. Do I keep reading this or do I just skip it? We're almost at the end. Let's just read this. This is too entertaining to pass up. This is gold right here. This is more gold than the entire city of Vraska in, like, narration form. Or I should say dialogue. It's actually not narration. Jace kept his eyes closed. I used my... if I could read, I used to imagine my parents hated me. It made me feel better about forgetting them if I pretended they were cruel. That way, no matter what I chose to do, I never felt like I was disappointing anyone. Bro, I disappoint my parents on a daily basis. I should have recorded the phone call with them. It got a little heated. We don't really get along. They don't exactly agree with some of my career and business decisions, and they basically second-guess everything. Okay, let's not get into that, or I'm going to go on a Jace rant, but instead of emotional, it's just going to be raging. Vraska was struck by his honesty. Do you feel like you disappointed her? Desolator was struck by his over-emotional state. He thought over his words before answering. Eventually, he looked at Vraska. I feel ... like I want to make her proud. I thought you couldn't remember anything about her. I thought that was... I'm not that up on, like, Jace lore, but I thought his entire memory was erased of his entire childhood after his little mental duel with Alhamarat, and then he planeswalked away and lost all of his memories. But then, like, did he really regain them? But then his memory was erased again, and... I mean, I'm just saying, you do that crap to like a flash drive, you're going to have to reformat the whole thing. Su voz se volvió esperanza al final, feliz casi. Oh, sorry, I thought this was a telenovela. I got deeply confused. They're practically indistinguishable. Do you think it has the same punch if I read it like a normal human being? Let's find out. His voice turned hopeful at the end. Happy almost. That earnest man who could take apart a telescope and put it back together, could disguise a tall ship with his mind, and fight back to back in a raid, who delighted in puzzles. Told you he loves puzzles. That's an old reference. And piracy. He was there after all. Vraska smiled. Then I think you know exactly who you ought to be. The golden staircase loomed overhead. Can we quit talking about our feelings and climb the damn staircase? And turn on your little Fitbit bracelet. See, it counts all the steps. You don't want to like go up and down the steps and be like, oh man, it didn't log them. So Vraska held out a hand to help Jace to his feet. She nodded towards the staircase, weaving its way up the cliff to Vraska. But before they could start climbing, she stopped and said, Jace, there's something I have to tell you. I am your mother. Just kidding. It doesn't say that. It could, but it doesn't. So then he's like, yeah, they held hands and they started like walking up the staircase, and he's like, he's got a headache. And I'm thinking, yeah, you probably shouldn't get up and do like intense physical stair climbers after a concussion and a head injury. That's still bleeding. So they couldn't end this chapter without taking it to a weird place. He says, I probably wouldn't have had the strength to climb this staircase a year ago, or if I did, I probably would have passed out halfway up. And she's like, oh, you weren't that out of shape when I last saw you, which, keep in mind, he lived on an island for like 40 days or something, so he got like kind of buff. Then he says, okay, well, you're ignoring how often I used... Oh, wait, that's right. Well, she said when I last saw you. I think what she meant to say was when I first saw you. Anyway, you're ignoring how often I used to use illusions to make myself look like I was in shape. And she literally says, seriously? And he says, oh yeah. So every single image of Jace, even emo punk rocker death metal M14 Jace, which, God, what was going on with that? Okay, that's its whole other video. That's the Jace we don't talk about, okay? But anyway, every time you see Jace in an image, he was probably fooling you with an illusion to make himself look more in shape. He could have been fat as hell. Maybe he's a thick boy. He's a BCB, big chunky brother. He's a husky boy. Maybe after hours at the buffet, they just tell Jace, you gotta leave. You're eating us out of any kind of profitability here. So then they start climbing the stairs, and they're probably holding hands and probably skipping, because this was honestly the gayest thing I've read lately. This story got so emotional that it touched me deeply and honestly inappropriately, and I'm going to have to report this story to the Judge Conduct Committee. And that's about how seriously I'm going to take the rest of the story. So if you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next video.